Hello everyone, my name is Amelia. I'm currently studying my Masters of Business Administration online with La Trobe University. Today I'm going to present the third part of our group assignment, which is a marketing plan. Our group has decided to focus on a marketing plan for Microsoft and their new product, the Xbox One X, which is coming out later in 2017. Brooksbank says in his book that marketing is a totally intellectual war in which you try to outmaneuver your competitors on a battleground that no one has ever seen. It can only be imagined in the mind. There are, however, a few common sense principles that can be applied. Some strategies that have already been covered in this marketing plan have been part one by Joel, where he covered company, mission and strategic plan, environmental and competitor analysis, segmentation. And in part two by James, he covered targeting, audience analysis and positioning, demand forecast, and marketing programs around product and pricing strategies. In this section of the marketing plan, part three, I will be talking about distribution and communication, budget, as well as monitoring and control mechanisms. So let's start by talking about distribution and communication strategies. These are very integral parts of a marketing plan. To sell a product, you need to be able to distribute it as smoothly as you can to give the best customer satisfaction. Communication also plays a very important part in communicating with the customer so they feel more comfortable about purchasing that product. Currently, Microsoft are using distribution strategies such as EOMs, distributors, resellers, online selling, Microsoft retail selling, as well as expos. Another suggestion could be using some pop-up shops around Christmas season, for example, to actually make consumers more comfortable to buy. And currently, Microsoft is employing communication strategies such as website, emails, search strategies, social media, blogs, talking at expos, and having feedback channels. This communication is very important, and it makes sense with the hardcore gamers to do it electronically because that's the world that they live in. So by having distribution strategies and communication strategies that are very high tech, this appeals to the hardcore gamers. But by also having communications on social media level and also having distribution channels at the pop-up shop level, this will also help capture the social gamers and the old school gamers. Now let's move on to talking about the budget. How do you budget for the dollar amount of your marketing? The challenge, of course, is knowing how much to spend and then when to stop spending. Microsoft currently spends an average of 17 to 18% of revenue on marketing and sales strategies, and that was a total spend of $14.7 billion for 2016 as per their annual report. When there's this amount of money involved, it's prudent to carefully budget how much you spend. There are a number of methods available that can be used to help calculate a budget figure, and this table explains a few methods. Now, my preferred method would be the objective and task method because this gives a much more focused budget to managers. The use of objective and tasks method is a very effective way of setting the targets that are measurable and the goals that are measurable. And this gives Microsoft a focus of where to spend their money. By using this method, you also have a total budget spend to work with. So a potential application of the objective and task method could be as follows. You could estimate potential users of 200 million as discussed in part 1 of the marketing plan. Microsoft could be hoping to reach 80% of those users, which would mean 160 million customers. Microsoft may be wanting 65% of those advertised and aware customers to actually purchase. This would be 104 million customers to purchase. So with 104 million customers at $499 US, that brings in a total income of 51.896 billion US dollars. To calculate the number of ad exposures needed, let's say Microsoft is wanting 100 ad exposures to 1% of the potential user group. Now to calculate the gross rating points, we need 100 exposures and we want to reach 80% of the market. So that's 8,000 GRPs. Therefore, assuming that the average spend for one exposure is around 500,000 US dollars, that means the total budget will need to be 500,000 US dollars times 8,000 GRPs. That brings a total of 4 billion US dollars. So that table on the previous slide is actually calculating the advertising cost at $4 billion. Now, if you also add in staff wages associated with the marketing process, you could add another 4 billion to that, and that would bring the total up to around 8 billion US dollars. And that spend would be around 15.5% of the gross sales for the Xbox One X, which is a bit less than the average of 17 to 18% spend that Microsoft normally spends each year. Microsoft also need to take into consideration not just the advertising budget for the Xbox One X, but the overall budget associated with this product. Such factors they need to consider are things such as manufacture and production costs and overhead costs that need to be allocated to that product so that they can determine the overall profitability for selling the Xbox One X. Now for the final part of this presentation, I'm going to be focusing on monitoring and control mechanisms. Because Microsoft is one of the leaders in technology, it makes sense for them to utilize the ability and effectiveness of online marketing and sales and control and monitoring. The technology available in this day and age can easily track and monitor data efficiently. Managers then can receive reports that show how the advertising is tracking, and after doing the budget, they have a set of criteria that they can measure against. One of the biggest disadvantages with monitoring information online is if there are bogus clicks that are being generated by either software or people trolling the internet. To sidestep this issue, Microsoft will need a formula to calculate the amount of deviation within the measurement results they get so that you can have a more accurate reflection of how successful their marketing has been online. Other forms of advertising such as TV, newspapers, radio and magazines do not offer a direct or automated mechanism to measure the success of those marketing strategies. In that case, Microsoft would need to introduce some other form of collecting that information when the sale is taking place And it could be as simple as asking, how or where did you hear about Microsoft Xbox One X? So once the managers have received their reports and they can compare them to the targets and the goals that have been set, they can work out from there which advertising strategies are working and which ones are not working. And at this point, Microsoft has the ability to vary or change the marketing plan according to the more successful strategies. Control is also very important for Microsoft. It's important that the message being projected to the market is one that Microsoft wants projected. It's also desirable to have control. So if you need to change this message, you've got the ability to be able to do that. Technology is a very good use for doing this. So that's the end of my presentation. In summary, I've focused on distribution strategies, communication strategies, the budget, monitoring, and control mechanisms. Finally, I'd like to say thank you very much for watching my presentation on part 3 of the marketing plan for Microsoft's product, the Xbox One